Whether I like it or not, Instagram has changed my life, and I wouldn't have a job without it. I film and photograph for a living, and most of that success comes from the good old gram. Over the last summer, I traveled the globe with dozens of influencers, documenting our trips, our experiences, and capturing the beauty that is this world. The word influencer nowadays has become a symbol that's both good and bad. They are the kind of people we love to hate and hate that we love. They're often so attractive it makes you bleed internally, or so talented you want to throw yourself in the garbage. But like it or not, the common denominator is that we see what they want us to see. Having the job that I do, I have a unique perspective on what life is like as a social media influencer because of the time that I've spent with them. But in reality, influencers are just people. Most influencers started with nothing big in mind. It may have all started with a hobby they wanted to share, maybe it was a knack for thrifting, DIY projects, or blogs about being a parent. But over time, sharing their hobby consumed their life and actually became their career. But not everything is as picture perfect as it seems. As I mentioned before, I had the incredible opportunity of traveling the world with influencers. But as I did, a new and strange feeling started to creep in. The second I was home for longer than 3 weeks, I felt unmotivated and empty. I felt the need to ask, where am I going next? And what do people want to see? I felt a dark and hungry itch to satisfy my small 5-digit audience. I felt like my content was becoming irrelevant because I wasn't traveling. And in short, I felt like my work wasn't good enough. I realized that feeling came from comparison. I had to remind myself this, but back on normal planet Earth, there are so many people who save money their entire lifetime to travel once. And I had to remind myself that I was so fortunate to even have one of these experiences. After all this internal conflict, I thought, wait, what about influencers who live this kind of life every single day, and how do they feel? The experiences I had and stories I was told by some were not all good. Some people wouldn't go on free trips because they weren't flown first class. Some were rude and entitled. Some would hide their Coachella pass and blame other people for stealing it in order to make a good YouTube thumbnail. But most of them have become really close friends of mine. And for some, I am genuinely shocked by their humility and grace when they have every excuse to feel otherwise. And don't get me wrong, I certainly don't think all influencers take things for granted. The spectrum of personalities is obviously as wide as ever. But I can say with absolute certainty that whoever they are and whatever they're going through, what they do is much harder than it actually looks. One time while traveling, I asked an influencer if they wanted a photo at this beautiful location, in which they responded, "It's really pretty here, but my audience wouldn't think this is grand enough." Even when influencers are aware of their situation, somehow Instagram culture finds a way to chant, "No, still not good enough." In reality, brands are so smart to use influencer marketing. Influencers have already collected a niche of commonly interested people all in one cute, curated package. Having a following is kind of like being the king of a small country, but it's up to that influencer to determine what kind of kingdom it will be. Social media is a death trap for mental health, and it's unarguably a huge source of anxiety and pain. But having any voice, some being louder or smaller than others, is a huge responsibility. Whether you have 100 followers or 100,000 or 1 million, we all have a duty to lift where we can and starve comparison. Social media is more crowded than ever, and we are constantly surrounded by things that are hollow, condescending, and cheap. I hope that as we scroll through the small pictures on our phones, we never lose sight of the big picture outside of the screen. Over my experiences, I've learned that despite all of these things, there is beauty everywhere, in places and especially people. In this journey we call life, it's not about what influences you. It's about what inspires you.